It's good to be here with you all. It's really good to be in session again. Practice with so many people that I've practiced with for so long. I prepared a talk today to present today, but I wrote it before the ceremony yesterday, and now I feel like everything's different, and I feel like some of the things that I wrote are superfluous and don't really need to be said anymore, but I don't have time to write another talk, so I'll read what I've written. But I just wanted to say about the ceremony yesterday that it was a really profound experience for me in a way that I didn't really expect. It was kind of like finding out for myself if the water was warm or cold, and felt like I didn't really know what being ordained was really meant until I went through that ceremony. And it feels like taking those vows feels like setting in motion something that will carry through the rest of my life and affect everything that I do from here on to the rest of my life. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, of course, and I didn't know what being a novice priest would look like, but I'm gonna find out. And I just feel a lot of gratitude for being able to practice with these teachers and go through this process and find out what it means to be an ordained Zen priest in America. So here are the words that I prepared to say. Tokudo is a ceremony in which a Zen student makes a lifelong commitment to serving the Dharma. It's a commitment to living a life of stability, simplicity, surrender, serenity, selflessness, and service. Right now, to me, that feels a bit overwhelming, and I honestly don't know if I'll be able to live up to all that. I've had a lot of insecurity all the way through my ordination journey. I'm concerned that I might not be compassionate and selfless enough to be a Zen priest. I'm concerned that I don't do enough to really qualify as a commitment of my life to serving the Dharma. I'm concerned that I'm not ascetic enough. I think a Zen priest should be someone who embodies the Zen teachings and is a stable example for others of what it can look like to live by the precepts. I think a Zen priest should be someone who can offer spiritual guidance and counsel to those going through difficult times. And I think a Zen priest should be someone who is gentle, wise, serene, compassionate, and skillful in basically all situations. I'm not all of those things. I would like to be gentle, wise, and skillful and to embody the precepts at all times, but I can only be what I actually am, and I never even know what that is. The thing about being any of those things that I would like to be is that they're all just ideas in my mind. If I spend my life trying to live up to an idea, that means that I'm accepting some things about me that I think match that idea and rejecting other things about myself that contradict it. Of course, I would also like all of you to see me according to that idea and to reinforce it by how you interact with me. But everyone has their own ideas about themselves and about me and each other and life in general. And these ideas are all subject to constant change. Depending on how each of you perceives me, I am a wholly different person in each of your lives. Maybe today I'll inspire you. Maybe tomorrow I'll disappoint you. Sometimes I might appear to be living by the precepts, and at other times I may appear to you to be living wholly from delusion. Perhaps one of you admires me while someone else despises me. That's up to each of you to decide, and over which I have little, if any, control. So as you can see, my idea of myself is not really anything at all. Your idea of yourself might seem to be who you really are, but it's not anything at all, really. My idea of myself and your idea of yourself are dependent on so many other ideas about our world and our places in it and the things in it and each other, and they're all constantly changing. My mom says that all things in the material world are nothing more than our ideas about them, and that none of them are really real at all. So being a Zen priest is not really about being a Zen priest at all. If I think that a Zen priest is something special or a great accomplishment or an impossible ideal to live up to, that's already not it. If anything, it's about being nothing other than what I already am, my original nature. But that is also an idea. I went through the ceremony with the Roshis yesterday, and now I'm a priest, and this is what it looks like right now. What it will look like tomorrow, I can't say. I just have to surrender into the unknown and find out what it is as I go along. So I can't promise you that I'll live up to my own or anyone else's ideas of what a Zen priest is supposed to be. What I can promise you is that I will be wholly myself, nothing added on and nothing left out. I will do my best to harmonize myself with my highest understanding of the truth and to live by that understanding. I will continue to learn and develop my wisdom, compassion, and ability to serve others. I'll continue to serve the Sangha in whatever ways I am able and are open to me. And I can promise you that I will continue to make mistakes. On Saturday morning, the Roshis shaved my head in a little ceremony in the Sangha room with just the three of us. I can tell you that having my head shaved definitely feels like a cutting away of attachments and the beginning of a whole new phase of my life. It makes me feel like I really am a Zen priest and a Zen nun. It makes me feel that there's nowhere left to hide. And it makes me feel in my bones that I really am only myself. That there's nothing to live up to, nothing to attain, nothing to prove. That I'm not perfect, but there's nothing inherently wrong with me that needs to be fixed or completed. It makes me feel very happy and liberated and at peace in a way that I didn't expect it would. I didn't really know what I was getting in for when I requested novice ordination. I didn't know what it meant at the time, and I had ideas of plunging into the silent heart of Zen and eliminating distractions and really clarifying this great matter for once and for all. I wanted to be a nun and live in seclusion and simplicity. I certainly didn't want to be a public figure in the Sangha and give talks and have to figure out how to interact with people. But even though I kept trying and failing to articulate to Shishin Roshi why I wanted to be ordained, I knew I wanted to do it, and it was very important to me to go through with it. I did my first weekend retreat with Shishin and Shinko Roshis in 2009. In 2012, I moved from New Mexico to Colorado so that I could practice with them consistently. At the time, I still wanted to maintain some distance from the Zen Center, and I lived in various living situations in the area, working through some karma. In July 2018, the time was right for me to live with the Roshis at the Abbey, and in November that same year, I ordained as a novice priest. The Roshis didn't tell me what being a priest meant. They wanted me to figure out for myself what it meant for me, which has been liberating and empowering as well as incredibly frustrating. At that time, I wrote a document that I read to the Roshis that explained what ordination would mean to me. I examined different aspects of my life and how being ordained would affect them. I wrote about service to the Dharma, the Sangha, and my teachers, various ways I planned to simplify my life, including minimizing my possessions, dressing simply and conservatively, eating simply, my choice to be celibate, continued study of the Dharma, and of course, regular committed Zazen practice. Over the past 4.5 years since my novice ordination, I've integrated all these areas more fully into my practice. Minimizing my possessions continues to be an elusive dream, while celibacy has become a way of life. I've also taken inspiration from Benedictine and Franciscan nuns. In their traditions, ordination signifies that a nun is married to God. I can also look at it as intimacy with all things, since there is no separation from God. So my novice ordination has felt like a time of discovering what it means to be an ordained Zen student. I'm a member of the Soto Zen Buddhist Association, a membership of Soto priests and novice priests throughout the country. No one seems to have a definitive description of what it means to be a Zen priest in America. We're all making it up as we go along. The way I've come to understand it is that it's mainly a role of service to the Zen center, the Sangha, and the teachers. It's letting go of self-grasping, idealistic views and integrating every aspect of my life into the practice. It's developing compassion for myself and others. It's being realistic about myself and others. It's taking full responsibility for my own awakening and not waiting around for someone else to save me. It's looking closely at my stuck places and triggers and seeing how I can be real and honest with those things rather than just live in reaction to them. And it's a lifelong journey of commitment to the practice of awakening. I certainly feel fortunate to have the opportunity to live with my Zen teachers and to go through priest training with them. It has certainly felt like a fiery furnace at times. I have certainly felt inadequate most of the time, and I have felt a lot of frustration that the training wasn't everything I wanted it to be, and that there's a lot that I didn't learn. It certainly wasn't an idyllic experience, and I will be grateful for the rest of my life, for the Roshi's patience with me, for believing in me, and for allowing me to work closely with them in this way. What they have given me so generously through their teaching has impacted every facet of my life. Not so many people in this world are fortunate enough to find teachers who have such deep understanding of the Dharma and who live by what they teach in their daily lives. It's very rare to find people who so genuinely give themselves wholeheartedly to the Dharma and who devote their lives to helping others awaken with no guarantee of results and no small trouble and expense to themselves. I'd also like to thank Mui, since it was his example that inspired me to want to ordain. I am deeply grateful for his encouragement and guidance over the years, and for his teaching me many details of the Zen forms. Many of you are familiar with the Mumonkan case number 23, Think Neither Good Nor Evil, which involves a robe and a bowl. Since a robe and bowls were part of the ceremony yesterday, it feels appropriate to talk about them, about this koan. It features Huineng, the sixth patriarch, who was given transmission by the fifth patriarch when he wrote a poem that revealed his profound understanding of the Dharma. Since he wasn't a monk, but only an illiterate kitchen worker in the monastery, the fifth patriarch transmitted his teaching to him in secret, after which Huineng left the monastery with the robe and bowl that had been passed down from ancestor to ancestor and went into hiding. It is at this point that the koan takes place. The sixth patriarch was once pursued by monk Myo to Daiyure. The patriarch, seeing Myo coming, laid the robe and bowl on a stone and said, "This robe symbolizes faith. How can it be fought for by force? I will leave it to you to take it." Myo tried to take up the robe, but it was immovable as a mountain. Myo was terrified and hesitated. He said, "I have come for the Dharma, not for the robe. I beg you, please teach me, O lay brother." The sixth patriarch said, "Think neither good nor evil. At such a moment, what is the true self of monk Myo?" At this, Myo was at once enlightened. His whole body was dripping with sweat. With tears he made a bow and asked, "Beside these secret words and meanings, is there any further significance or not?" The patriarch said, "What I have just told you is not secret. If you will realize your true self, what is secret is in you yourself." Myo said, "Although at Obai I followed other monks in training, I did not awaken to my true self. Thanks to your instruction, which is to the point, I am like one who has drunk water and actually experienced himself whether it is cold or warm. You are really my teacher, lay brother." The patriarch said, "If you are so awakened, both you and I have Obai as our teacher. Live up to your attainment with care." So the robe of ordination symbolizes faith in the Zen teachings. Myo couldn't take it by force, even though he had chased Huineng for many miles to get it back. This is because he recognized the truth of what Huineng said. If it was taken by force, it wouldn't mean anything. Only if it's given and received in faith and trust between teacher and student does it hold any significance. My ordination isn't a Dharma transmission like Huineng's was, and it doesn't make me into a teacher. It just means that I'm officially a Zen priest, no longer a novice, and can continue what I'm already doing at the Zen Center. It's another Dharma gate in my journey and the beginning of a new chapter of my life. Being ordained pushes me, like nothing else in my life, to be genuine and to work through my stuck places. I'm sure that being fully ordained will push me in new ways to continue to discover what the true self of monk Koren is. I will continue to live up to this attainment with care. I will endeavor to live up to this attainment with care. I've been dealing with the death of my father this month, and my practice has been all over the place because of that. And I've had to be really gentle with myself. So Shishin Roshi said, get back to the basics. So I've been reading Dogen, the sixth patriarch, the Bhagavad Gita, and the teachings of the Buddha. I find it very refreshing to return to the basics periodically, since I tend to think that Zen is simply the basics over and over and over again, all of our lives. Zen is a very simple, direct practice, and so it's easy to complicate it with lots of thinking and ideas, and worrying whether we're doing it right. At least I have always found that to be the case for me. Dogen, the 13th century Zen master, gave very detailed instructions for how to do Zazen practice, including posture as well as what to do with our minds. The book Beyond Thinking, A Guide to Zen Meditation, is a collection of Dogen's most practical instructions and encouragement for Zen students. There's a short passage in Dogen's essay, Rules for Zazen, that particularly stood out to me recently. It was one of those phrases that seemed to take on a special significance, and that I have been coming back to a lot lately as a way to settle my practice. This being the first talk of Sesshin, I figure it's a good time to talk about some of the basics. In giving instruction for how to do Zazen, Dogen said this: set aside all involvements and let the myriad things rest. Zazen is not thinking of good, not thinking of bad. It is not conscious endeavor. It is not introspection. Do not desire to become a Buddha. Let sitting or lying down drop away. Be moderate in eating and drinking, mindful of the passing of time. Engage yourself in Zazen as though saving your head from fire. So I'll spend a little time with each of these lines of Dogen's instructions for Zazen. Doesn't it sound nice to set aside all involvements and let the myriad things rest? That's what I've mostly been doing in Zazen so far during this session, letting the myriad things rest. There are so many things that clamor for our attention. This week is an opportunity to let those things rest. I don't know how true this is for you, but I find Zazen practice to be quite stressful at times. I feel stressed because I think I'm not doing it right, because I have difficulty focusing, because my body is in pain, because I don't know what to say in Dokusan, and because I'm trying to have a profound awakening experience before the week is over. Maybe you face similar struggles when you come to session. The Buddha remembered how relaxed, joyful, and at peace he felt when meditating under the trees in the garden as a child. And that's when he gave up his extreme ascetic practices and started being gentler with himself. This practice is supposed to be relaxed and enjoyable, not sometime later down the road after we've figured it out through a lot of hard work and beating up on ourselves. But now, this breath. So see if you can be aware of the pleasure of your practice. This week isn't a time to be hard on yourself. And if you don't get enlightened this week, you haven't failed. Let the myriad things rest and just gently keep returning to the arising and falling away again of this present moment. Dogen continues, Zazen is not thinking of good, not thinking of bad. This is just like when Huineng said, think neither good nor evil. At such a moment, what is your true self? Thinking neither good nor evil is the practice of being present with circumstances just as they are, with no judgment. And Dogen says, Zazen is not conscious endeavor. We don't have to accomplish anything with Zazen. This is a hard one for me to let go of. My mind wants to be doing something productive in meditation. I want to know that I'm making progress towards a goal. But there's a vast peace that comes with letting go of goals and accomplishments. Just like with koans, Zazen is not something we can figure out with our minds, like a puzzle to solve or a project to complete. Simply resting can open into deeper levels of resting, dissolving obstructions in our practice. Deeply resting in Zazen leads into trust in the practice and into noticing the way things are with no judgments. When I'm really resting and relaxing into my practice, I can feel lots of little muscles that I didn't know were tense, letting go of their own accord. Dogen continues, Zazen is not introspection. We're not examining our mental processes and emotional states, trying to figure out what makes them tick. Do not desire to become a Buddha. Isn't that why we practice Zazen? To become Buddhas? No matter how hard we practice, we cannot become more of what we already are. Our Buddha nature is already radiantly present. It's easy to think that if we only put more effort into our Zazen, we'll attain Buddhahood sooner. But Buddhahood is not attained through effort, and it is not something to be reached outside of ourselves. It can only be discovered in who we are already. So Zazen can be seen as simply resting in the equipoise of our natural being. And finally, let sitting or lying down drop away. Be moderate in eating and drinking. Mindful of the passing of time, engage yourself in Zazen as though saving your head from fire. So we can rest and relax in our practice and find the pleasure in it. And we should also not waste our time. All of us here in this retreat have a precious opportunity. We have access to the teachings and a place to practice with teachers and others on the path. None of us can know for certain what will come after this lifetime. But one thing we can probably all agree on is that this body won't last forever. This lifetime will pass and be over. So what is it that draws us to practice? Why did we each make the time in our lives to come to this retreat and practice together? What would our lives be like if we weren't practicing Zen? If we tap into our longing to awaken or to find stability and peace in our lives, or whatever it is that truly draws us to practice, it can help direct our efforts to the heart of where our practice is most alive. It will help us to not waste our time here. The heart of your practice may be different from the heart of my practice. Where we feel most alive and awake in practice is unique to each one of us. We can't expect someone else to know what that is and tell us how to get there. Teachers point the way, but it is up to each of us to find what really works for us and how to navigate our own inner landscape. It's up to each one of us to find the motivation to sit on our cushion or chair, to be with our own mind exactly as it is, and to keep returning again and again to our practice. I'd like to end with 3 of my favorite poems by the beloved Japanese poet Ryokan. Ryokan was a priest and a hermit monk who lived in the 1700s and 1800s in a little hut that he built himself, deep in the remote mountains where the winters are very cold. He wrote poetry and drank sake and played with the village children and admired the moon and the sound of the falling snow. I love Ryokan's simple, genuine, and unique expression of the Dharma. When all thoughts are exhausted, I slip into the woods and gather a pile of shepherd's purse. Like the little stream making its way through the mossy crevices, I too quietly turn clear and transparent. If someone asks about the mind of this monk, say it is no more than a passage of wind in the vast sky. Our life in this world, to what shall I compare it? It's like an echo resounding through the mountains and off into the empty sky.